Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today we're diving into, well, a part of the internet most people probably never even think about, let alone see. Yet it really shapes the browsing experience for, well, everyone. We're talking about the world of browser development, and specifically a really fascinating, constantly shifting piece of software, Firefox Nightly. Our flipping really is to unpack what this bleeding-edge version of Firefox actually is. Why does it even exist? Who is it actually for? And how does it play this critical, almost hidden role in how the web evolves, the web you use every day? Get ready to find out why sometimes embracing a bit of instability is actually a feature, not a bug, and how you benefit from the folks, the brave souls, who are out there in this digital wilderness. Okay, so to really get our heads around Nightly, what's the fundamental thing we need to grasp right at the start?
Right. Well, the fascinating thing here, I think, is that Firefox Nightly is very much by design the least stable version. It's the most experimental version of the Firefox browser you can get. Think of it like the ultimate alpha test. It's a pre-release build, and it updates daily, every single day. It's basically showcasing new ideas, new features in their earliest, most raw stages. And it's absolutely not built for, your average person just browsing the web.
Okay, alpha experience, daily updates. What does that actually feel like for someone using it? Are they literally getting something new pushed to them every 24 hours?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You are right there on the absolute frontier of what's being cooked up.
Oh.
Changes, new bits of code. They can show up just hours after a developer finishes them. And this ties right into how software gets made, right? You need these early sort of real-world test beds. Otherwise, how do these brand new features ever get stable enough for release?
That sounds honestly a bit terrifying for most users. You mentioned buggy, slow, maybe crashing a lot.
Yes.
So why? Why would anyone choose to use something that sounds so, well, broken? Is that instability just a side effect, or is there some kind of counterintuitive reason for it?
That really is the core paradox, isn't it? But for the people it's aimed at, that instability is, in a way, the point. It's a feature, not a bug. And it actually tells us something important about innovation, Sometimes to get to really solid stability later on, you first have to navigate through some, let's say, controlled chaos. The big payoff, the thing that outweighs all those potential crashes and bugs, is early access. Users get to see and, crucially, test new features, security patches, new web platform APIs.
APIs being the sort of building blocks for websites.
Exactly. The tools developers use to make sites interactive and functional. Nightly users see this stuff way, way before it ever gets close to a beta or the main stable release that most people use.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about getting a sneak peek. It's more active than that. They're actually involved in shaping what comes next. How does that early access turn into something, concrete that helps everyone else down the line?
Yeah, it feeds directly into this really critical part of how Mozilla develops Firefox. It's the feedback mechanism. By just using Nightly, these testers, developers, enthusiasts, whoever they're actively helping the core Firefox developers find bugs, fix problems. And that direct input, it really helps shape which features make the cut. Which ones get refined, maybe which ones get dropped entirely before they reach the main audience.
Like a massive distributed quality assurance team.
Kind of, yeah. It's a great example of collective intelligence, really. Millions of potential testers acting like an informal R&D department, which, by the way, is why Nightly automatically sends back anonymized data, crash reports, things like that, to Mozilla. It's part of the deal.
That sounds incredibly useful. But does all that data ever become too much, just noise for the developers trying to build things?
Right.
And how does Nightly specifically help, say, a web developer in their day-to-day work? Is it different from other Firefox versions aimed at devs?
That's a fair point about the data volume. But Mozilla has pretty sophisticated ways to process it all. They look for patterns, prioritize the big issues. And yes, beyond just general bug hunting, Nightly is super developer focused. Now, it's not quite the same thing as the Firefox Developer Edition, and we should probably talk about that distinction. But for devs who need to test their own websites or web apps against the absolute bleeding edge of browser tech, Nightly is essential. It's a direct testbed for brand new tools, new CSS features, new JavaScript functionalities, often as they're literally being implemented. It's a window into tomorrow's web. Today.
Right. And this is exactly where I think a lot of people might get a bit fuzzy on the details, because you hear Firefox Nightly and Firefox Developer Edition, and both sound like they're for developers.
Yeah.
But they aren't the same thing, are they? They serve different roles. Could you maybe clarify that relationship for us?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a really common point of confusion, but the difference becomes pretty clear when you think about stability and where they sit in the what we call the release pipeline.
Hmm.
So Firefox Nightly, like we've been saying, that's the alpha. It's the most unstable. It's packed with features that are actively being worked on, features that might change drastically or even disappear completely before release. It really is the raw, untamed frontier.
Okay, alpha means raw, experimental, maybe breaks. Got it. So developer edition.
Developer Edition, in contrast, is essentially a beta version. It's built on a more stable foundation specifically. It tracks the Firefox beta channel code. So, yes, it's still geared towards developers. It has special tools and settings enabled by default that developers find useful. But crucially, it offers a much more reliable, more stable environment for actual day-to-day development work. You can generally trust it more than nightly.
This is like a step further along the process.
Exactly. Think of the whole thing like water flowing through pipes. The release channels are a pipeline. New ideas, new code. It first lands in Nightly. That's where the initial heavy testing and development happens. Then, if a feature proves stable enough and promising, it graduates. It moves into the beta channel. And the developer edition is based on that beta channel, so it gets those more mature but still pre-release features. It's for wider testing, more refinement.
Okay, so nightly is step one, beta developer edition is step two.
Right. And then finally, only after all those stages, after passing all the tests and getting polished in beta, does the feature make it into the stable version of Firefox. That's the version most people download and use every day. So this whole pipeline, it really shows how innovation travels, from a rough concept in Nightly to a polished, reliable product for millions.
Okay, that pipeline analogy really helps clarify it. So let's try and summarize this deep dive then. Firefox Nightly isn't just some quirky, unstable browser you probably wouldn't want for checking your email. It's actually a really vital, dynamic part of how the web itself evolves. It's the first proving ground, the test kitchen, for technologies that eventually land in the stable browser you rely on. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, even if you never touch Firefox Nightly yourself, understanding its role kind of gives you this cool insight, doesn't it? Into the iterative process, the collaborative effort, sometimes the messy reality of software development. And you see how your everyday browser is constantly being tweaked, improved, made safer and more capable, often thanks to work that started in Nightly.
Yeah, and it maybe makes you think, doesn't it? Raises this interesting question for all of us, I think. How much do we really appreciate the sort of invisible work, the initial, often chaotic testing phases run by volunteers and enthusiasts, all the effort that goes into delivering the seamless, stable web experience that we frankly just expect now, day in, day out. It's a real testament to a huge amount of constant, often unheralded effort behind the scenes.